And welcome back to the Nicole Sandler Show. Jacob Dean of Filter Free Radio in live for Nicole on RadioOrNot.com. Nicole Sandler's filling in for Randy Rhodes nationwide today, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check that out. Again, it's an honor and a privilege to be with you here this morning, and also an honor of mine. Very first time I've ever gotten to speak with the head cheese of crooksandliars.com. It is Wednesday on the Nicole Sandler Show, and at this time we normally check in with John Amato. John, pleasure to speak with you.
Hey, buddy, what's happening?
Oh, we're hanging in there for an early morning. I'm not up normally this early. But
I get up early, but it's like I'm a slow-functioning political blogger, early in the mornings. Since I'm up usually late at night, but I'm ready to go.
I'm there with you, bud, and pounding down to my third cup of coffee here, and hopefully I'm still coherent. I spent a good portion of the first half an hour or so really hammering home this the chain CPI and what's going on here, and my position was, hey, being progressives here, we should do something. Call the White House comment line, call your local senator or something and say, hey, are we really going to cut Social Security at the same time that we're giving all these subsidies to the corporate conglomerates of the country? I mean, what's going on here, John?
I know, it's really a travesty. That it's being discussed. I guess if it doesn't get passed, and it never gets passed, then there's no harm in discussing it, right? But the fact is that it's not only a cut in Social Security benefits, it's a tax increase. And it's a tax increase on the very demographic that President Obama, swore to never raise taxes on while the financial collapse is still being, we're still digging our way out of it. And so now not only he's breaking multiple promises and campaign promises on top of that, not only the fact that he wanted, as we've seen the negotiations go, right, he was going to raise tax rates. And by the way, while I do want to raise tax rates, I don't think it's like the grand poobah of all things that have ever happened in the liberal world of politics, right? And what we're getting back for raising these rates, to me, appears chump change, to say the least. But and so just by the fact that when Boehner said, well, I'll raise them on people making $1 million, and then they actually make a counteroffer and move from $250,000 to $400,000 in a blink of an eye. It's like, what kind of negotiating skills are that? So that's a broken promise. And then the fact that not only, we all know, and I know a lot of Nicole's listeners and your fans know that Social Security has nothing to do with the federal deficit. And why it's being tied to this, to me, is just tantamount of conservative cruelty to the common man, and not just the common man, but just 98% of all Americans. Because why is it even being discussed again in the concept of a federal deficit move? So we have to save money on Social Security when it doesn't add any money to the debt. So that's another fundamental problem with this whole debate. And then if you look at the statistics, more and more and more people are depending like almost, 50, 60, 70, and almost completely all their money when they retire on Social Security. So you're also hammering away at the lifeline that this country set up to provide for the seniors of this country. So it makes no sense at all. And, if we said, well, if we did this chain CPI right now, Social Security is only got, when they talk about, the Republicans like to talk about, it's going bankrupt by 2033, right? That's the new line again, as they constantly change the line when it's going bankrupt. That's a lie in itself, because it only means that it'll start taking in less money than it's giving out, and that can take, it could take a long time before they have to really worry about it. But they're saying it's bankrupt, Well, if Social Security was seriously bankrupt and there was no chance that we were going to get money, you might have to consider making some cuts. But this should be strengthened, not cut. And, I'm sure you've discussed it, right? So the CPI, the change CPI is just a consumer price index of inflation, and it's the way the dollars are calculated. And so what they're doing, just to raise money. Now, have you looked at the percentages of how many households make, if we talk about $400,000? Because I've been looking up, last night I was looking up, how many households are we talking about, right? In other words, if he's going to put a cut to every American Social Security benefits, to get what? Okay, so he's gonna. There's only about 146,000 families, households that make over $5 million.
Right.
So there's 110 million families that are working, and 98% of them, 96% of them are making under 75,000. So he's negotiating in the way of 95% of the people to tax like 0.01% of the people.
It just doesn't make sense, and it doesn't go with all of the promises, like you said, John, on the campaign trail. What is this negotiation? What negotiation? I just did an expose on Gene Sharp's From Dictatorship to Democracy on my program, and the second chapter of that book is titled The Dangers of Negotiations. So worth reading. It's free and available online, but there was no negotiation here, and of course the big meme or story in the beginning of this was, oh my goodness, finally the White House and President Obama are standing their ground in this fiscal cliff negotiation fight. They're actually going to stand their ground and fight for what was it, 1.6 trillion in tax hikes and everything. And and come to find out, not really. I think obviously the clear message here to President Obama and Democrats and all of us considering this is no deal. I mean, what do you think, John? Is there a deal? No deal?
I know. We just had an election, right, which was a referendum basically on Obama, on his policies, and actually on the left because Obama's been portrayed as this socialist Marxist man who gives out handouts, right?
I wish.
He gets votes by giving goodies, right? Everybody drive up to your mall or your 7-Eleven and get your Obama goodie bags, right?
Right.
And the fact that he was able to win after the midterm elections, the horror of 2010, is quite remarkable. And so it's a fundamental, change in the country. This is how quickly politics can change, right? And I mean, Obama is like, the savior in 2008 and 2010. He's a socialist, Marxist, Muslim, Kenyan that's destroying us. And then, we lose the house of that. And then, bang, he's like, okay, we like him again. So it makes no sense. But, it's like, Marcos over at Daily Kos has a good timeline this morning on the negotiations for the debt ceiling in 2011, and that was, look, we all lived through the healthcare negotiations, and what a nightmare that was. And now, and then to have to live through the debt ceiling, supposed negotiations was just a joke, and that hurt the country and hurt all these super rich investors, right, who support the Tea Party, because they lost lots of money in the stock market from the hits that stock market took when these fools, for the first time in American history, played with our ability to pay off our debts on money that was already spent and borrowed. It was just foolish. It was like the Michelle Bachmann, guide to economics, and he hurt they hurt the country so bad at that point. And Obama, at that time, I think they started off negotiations there. It was a 3-to-1 ratio, right? Like, we'll cut $3 to every dollar of revenue that we take in, and obviously Boehner rejected that. He was going up. I think that you could remind me, or maybe some of your listeners, if you're taking calls today. or emails. Like, didn't Obama go up to almost like a 10-to-1 ratio at one point?
Yeah.
Just to get his deal done, and they still refused it. Well, now you won an election. So why are you negotiating? I mean, the starting point of anything should be, we're raising rates on everybody over $250,000. That's not even negotiable, right? You don't even negotiate that. You negotiate off that. Like, in other words, okay, so this is done, right? Because the public already negotiated that for me, right? The Republicans ran on, we believe in not taxing anybody because that's not pro-growth, right?
Right.
What the heck is pro-growth, right? It's more terminology for failure from Republicans. So they lost. That's done. So like, why are you even debating on the amount of money that, on where you're going to start raising taxes? It's just beyond belief to me.
And I want to be clear, as I mentioned when I started talking about this, in the beginning of the program, I wanted to mention I'm not. This is not the circular firing squad here. This is the circular support group. I believe that, as our job as journalists, our job is to hold those in power accountable, hold some feet to the fire. I mean, that's why our profession, journalism, is the only one specifically defined with protection in the Constitution. I mean, this is not about bashing President Obama. I am so happy we have President Obama. I have been on the program, on my show. The only reason I did a couple of shows talking about Jill Stein was I live in Oregon. I knew Oregon was going to go blue and for Obama, and I caveated every conversation I ever had about Jill Stein and the Green Party with, by the way, if you don't live like in a state like Oregon, you have to vote for President Obama. There's no questions asked. So don't question the support here of President Obama. It's just we're voicing the disappointment in the direction of the policies. It's obviously not going in the direction that progressives or the country in general needs. And where's the FDR of the day? We need Obama to put his foot down, to fight for us, to say, you know what, special corporate interests and Citizens United money and all this other jazz, you know what, I gotta do the right thing here. Dang it.
I know. Well, Obama's always been afraid for some reason to actually, mention FDR. Right? He quotes many other presidents in his speeches, but never FDR. And, it's hard to know, like put it like this, we're, as the progressive left or the liberal left are, even just, I consider just being a Democrat, really.
Yeah.
We're looking at, elections do have consequences, right? And like, we're not making these things, it's not like Republicans who are slavishly, defending, millionaires and billionaires from any kind of tax cut, right?
Yep.
I look at policy and numbers and what's the effect to Americans, right? And then you base your decisions off of facts, and especially in this debate. And the fact is that I've been putting in Social Security, as long as I've been working, and so has everybody else. And to have these guys come in and just arbitrarily, like, what's the reason? What's the reason? And the media doesn't even ask this. What's the justification for cutting Social Security? You haven't talked about Medicare, but Social Security, like for what? Like, what's the money? Where are the benefits other than to appease cruel and despicable Republicans who they knew they lost the election, they knew they'd have to give something up, but if they're going to give something up, damn it, they're going to hurt as many Americans as possible. And I don't understand, like, conservative elderly, the people who vote in droves for conservatives, that, not all of them, even if all of them were in the top 1%, that still would make many votes, right?
Right.
So, like, I know that these people have been conditioned to hate the left, but don't they even look at how the change CPI affects all these Republican voters? I mean, why aren't they demanding Republicans do not touch Social Security? Remember, even as far as 2005, right, when Bush won re-election, that was, I mean, it was all right for Bush to try to push his policy through, as much as I might hate it. And as far as the numbers and what the catastrophe would have been to privatize Social Security,
right?
He had the right to try to push that through, but Americans didn't want anybody to touch Social Security. And now, like under a Democratic president, he's actually looking at cutting Social Security benefits. It's ungodly, and if you don't attack or criticize or hold people accountable to something like that, then what's the point? Like, what are we doing this for?
I have a clip that I play occasionally on my show. It's a heck of a clip, but it's from Martin Luther King Jr. and it's words to the effect of, the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who remain silent in a time of moral crisis. But one of my personal heroes is the amazing independent senator from Vermont, Senator Bernie Sanders. And as you may recall, and I know, John, you know this, but hopefully our listeners can remember this because the political amnesia is so rampant, unfortunately. But a couple of years ago, Senator Bernie Sanders got on the floor of the Senate and did a real filibuster, which is a whole different topic. But he actually did a real filibuster, talking for 18 or 8 hours, 10 hours, something like that, nonstop. A real filibuster, and it was during the time of the whole debt ceiling discussion, and he and Senator Sanders really laid out important, fair, more shared sacrifice kinds of ways to reduce the deficit and the debt. And on his website, which is sanders.senate.gov, they did a cool video about this, and it's a really cool thing to check out. And he's got 12 simple, fair ways to reduce the debt and deficit, and you don't hear any of them discussed at all in any of these discussions or, quote, negotiations. Like, what negotiations? Things like repeal the Bush tax cuts, establish a millionaire surtax, end the tax breaks for outsourcing overseas, end the fossil fuel industry tax breaks, end abusive offshore tax shelters like the Cayman Islands, establish a Wall Street speculation fee, tax capital gains and dividends like real work income, create a progressive estate tax, end wasteful Pentagon spending, require Medicare drug price negotiations, establish a fee for currency manipulation, and reevaluate and end government waste, fraud, and abuse. How about that, John?
I hear you. I mean, Sanders has been wonderful throughout all this whole process, and we wish we had 60 of Sanders at this point in the Senate, and 214 in the House. Unfortunately, it's not the case, but we need more and more people. The more and more people like Sanders speak out against these atrocities towards the American people, then the better, it penetrates the lexicon, it's covered, and then it starts to penetrate households. Because it's a frustrating time. Yeah. It's been, all Obama's years. I mean, it's unfortunate for Obama, as a president, that when he got, elected into office, there was a, global financial meltdown, on top of us having two wars. So he couldn't do the things. It's hard to know, in a way, like what does he really want to do? What does he really believe in? I mean, I never took him for a liberal, so I've always been pretty clear on what he's not. But it's almost like they're negotiating not out of strength, but it's like, I just want to get this done. I don't feel like going through that again, It's like, I don't want to deal with that at the House and Bayer. It's like, you say $1 million, that's $400,000. Let's wrap this up. You know what I mean? Change CPI is fine with me. Let's wrap this up. Let's move on.
I love it. Bada bada bing. Let's get it done. It's the
It's like, yeah, let's move on. It's Christmas. I got my daughters. Hey, take the deal. You gonna take the deal? Got the CPI. We're doing the chain CPI.
I love it. I love it. And it's so true. I mean, I'm totally guilty. Lazy. We all get lazy occasionally once in a while. And I don't really feel like putting up too much of an effort. I want to check out from the important discussions. I don't really want to pay attention to the news. I'd much rather watch Jersey Shore and just kind of check out and not really care about it because kind of getting a little, I don't know what, lazy in the culture? I don't know. But yeah, it's stunning that we have to talk about this. This draconian program is draconian proposal is, I mean, especially for like a program like Social Security, which is not, like you said, John, it's not in any immediate crisis. It does not contribute to the deficit. And this chain CPI, Consumer Price Index, is targeting the least among us, the women, minorities, the elderly, the poor, the disabled, veterans. It just doesn't make sense. I don't get it. I'm confused.
No, it really doesn't, And by the way, it's I guess Obama's appointing Joe Biden to run, he wants him to sort of handle the gun control issue at this point. And, it's like I wonder, why didn't he appoint Biden to be the intermediary for the debt ceiling talks, right?
Right.
Why did he have to go? Why did he have to be the one to like throw himself into the discussion of this debt ceiling the whole time and drive himself crazy? He should have thrown Biden in there. I mean, Bush would have never, if he had a deal with that, he would have sent Cheney.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I mean, Cheney would have been in there basically saying, "Listen, I got my Blackwater team following me around. You vote for this thing. If you don't vote for it, I'd have to send a team. Pay a visit to your house. We got my Blackwater guys." So it would have been Cheney.
Well, that and eventually it'd come with a threat to go hunting with you or something.
No, well, he goes, "Yeah, right. You know what happens when you go hunting with me, don't you?" I mean, not for nothing, but I'm not that bad a shot, okay? He had it coming. He just had it coming.
Oh, and I mean, goodness, I'd hate to think what kind of conversations would be going on in other news if we still had President Bush and Vice President Cheney with this, the shooting massacres going on in the country, and you've got so many folks on the right on Fox coming out saying, "Oh, we need more guns in school. We need every teacher to have an AK-47 so that when the shooter comes into the classroom, they'll take him out." What? Does that not make sense?
Yeah, I know. It's like, damn statistics, damn facts. It's just, it's been a problem ever since the rise of talk radio and then Fox News, that it's like they have this built-in, messaging system, this propaganda that's just, destructive. Now, also, when we're talking about gun control, I see obviously same people are talking about, video games and music lyrics and whatnot. And it's the same characters that have always attacked the music and the lyrics. And, I'm sorry, but I came to realize, I never, throughout my whole life, right, I love action movies. I was a Clint Eastwood fan. As a kid, I liked Dirty Harry.
Oh, sure.
It wasn't that I wanted to perpetrate vengeance, right, and go, you feel lucky today, kid. That's not me. It's not what I want to do. Yeah. But I also realized that was a movie, right?
Right.
And I just always thought that, this doesn't affect people. It's just entertainment. They're smart enough. Yes, if you got a sick individual, but for the most part, it's not going to affect anybody. Well, I started to change my thinking after 24 came out, and I saw the reports about how that show had changed all these West Point grads' point of view on torture and how they were cheering torture and they love torture. And I'm going, there is differences. The way, conservatives view and process information and the way the left processes and views entertainment. And I'm starting to believe that the people that are affected by these things for the worse are these committed conservatives.
Yeah.
The torture got so bad on 24 that they actually had to make a conscious effort to write it out of the show.
If you're just joining us, we've only got a couple minutes to wrap up the show. I want to thank John Amato, the head cheese of crooksandliars.com. Check it out. In my 3 or 4 years of producing for the Tom Hartman program, never a day went by where I didn't read everything on crooksandliars.com's homepage. John Amato, it is a pleasure speaking with you, and I hope we can do this again sometime in the future.
Okay, my friend. Thanks for having me on.
All right.
And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and Happy Holidays.